Ever since I remember myself, I was always a difficult child. Born under the sign of Scorpio, I was a stubborn, whimsical, and persistent girl. I knew that my mother put a lot of effort into raising me, but I didn't realize how hard it is to be a mom until I became one. Every mother has a different story, and I'm going to share mine. My pregnancy was relatively easy compared to other women. Morning sickness at the first trimester, tiredness and back pain on the third, but it's different for every woman.
I'm gonna talk about my daughter, Graciela. When I was pregnant with her, I was on bed rest because it was like probably 2 months and a half I started bleeding. Because I couldn't do anything, I couldn't move, I would just try to get up and cook and they would be like, no, go back to bed. Being on bed rest is a lot of complications. You get into a depression. Well, at least I got into a depression where I felt like I was unuseful.
I was really sick the whole time I was pregnant. I had morning sickness for like 9 months. So every day I got out of bed, I threw up like regardless, just all the time. I lost 35 pounds my first trimester.
I think the third trimester was the worst for me. That's when I experienced the most pain. My first pregnancy, I had a lot of rib pain because I'm short-waisted and the baby's feet were up in my ribs the whole time.
Беременность проходила очень сложно, уже начиная с первого месяца. Токсикоз, тошнило, мутило очень. Все это удовольствие продолжалось почти 6 месяцев.
When my morning sickness kicked in the second month, it didn't stop until I gave birth. I had vertigo, I fainted, it was hard for me to read because the words on the page, they just jumped up and were running across the page. I had migraines every single day.
Тошнота постоянная, не проходящая ни от чего. Он же был недолго. Месяц, может, полтора.
At the last week before I had her, I was crying because my back really hurted so badly, like really sharp pain. Like if I was having cramps, but in my back, they would come and go.
At 26 weeks, I went into labor for the first time. They gave me medication to stop the labor, and I went into labor every week from 26 weeks to 34 weeks. I ended up having her at 36 weeks.
And then my second pregnancy, I had more back pain. The way the baby was lying, he was kicking me more on my left side and stretching out, and so it caused me a lot of pain. This was the hardest thing on my body because I only had 5 months in between both pregnancies.
Самочувствие было очень плохое. И тошнило, голова болела.
The smell of my beloved husband made me sick to my stomach. The taste of my own saliva made me sick. Water gave me heartburn.
На последнем уже месяце, конечно, так спать было тяжеловатенько, потому что ножками под ребра упинался.
As the time arrived for my baby to come into this world, I knew I was ready for the pain that every woman has to go through. But it wasn't nearly as painful as I thought it would be. Each contraction felt like someone was putting nails in my back. After 9 hours of suffering, passing out, crying and screaming, I wanted to have an epidural. I was in labor for a total of 16 hours.
12 hours?
13 hours.
24, 25 hours.
6,5 где-то.
12 hours.
Even though every mother has a different labor story, pain and suffering are common for everybody.
It was a lot of pain. I said, I need an epidural, I can't do it. Because it was like the sharp back pain from here to over here. It was just really bad.
I think the contractions felt like if a truck flipped on top of my back and I was like pinned underneath.
After 13 hours, I got to start pushing, and I pushed for 2.5 hours before I had her. She was not correctly effaced, so she came out like kind of like with her arm like this, so she kind of like fish hooked me. I had 32 stitches. I feel like I was being like ripped in half. It was so painful.
Ну, болит, конечно, спина, низ живота, ноющая такая боль, не острая, тупая.
And when I was getting the epidural, I thought, well, you know, if I ever had to cut my arm off, I probably could right now.
I understand the word labor now on a different level. I know what it really means.
I thought that the most difficult step on my way to motherhood was behind me, but it was a huge underestimation. After I gave birth to my son, I faced other challenges. Sleepless nights, diaper changing, constant tiredness, and breastfeeding, which isn't as easy as people think. I also realized that after having a baby, you don't belong to yourself anymore. You sacrifice and dedicate your life to another person, your little incarnation.
It's easy to make a baby, but it's not easy to take care of a baby.
Once I gave birth, it seemed like the hormones just kind of dropped very suddenly, and it put me in like a bit of a depression.
My daughter was colic, so she never slept for more than like 2 hours at a time. She was just crying.
I was exhausted. I'm sure I wasn't eating. He was not the best sleeper, to say the least. You know, so I felt like I was up 24/7.
Ребенок у меня просыпался до 2 лет, раз или два ночью постоянно. Конечно, когда маленький был, так он просыпался и 4 раза за ночь, и 5, было по-разному.
I had 2 other kids, so I couldn't sleep as much as I thought I was going to sleep. It was very hard. I would want to sleep, the other kids would want to play. When the other kids wanted to sleep, she was awake.
Пришлось сцеживать молоко. Ребенок грудь не брал, признал только соску.
That have inverted nipples, so babies have a harder time latching on. I had to use a nipple guard. So when the baby was sucking, it would introduce a lot of germs. And by the time he was a month old, I was really, really sick, to where I ended up having to go to the hospital. So sick that, you know, if I didn't get medical treatment for the mastitis that I got, that I probably would have died from it.
And you're tired, and your body hurts.
You have this beautiful little baby and everything changes. From being able to do whatever you want to do because it's just you and your husband, it was a whirlwind and it was a definite adjustment period.
Breastfeeding was complicated because my nipples were so sore, like they would bleed. The milk would come out with blood.
So the first couple weeks, first month, no, I didn't enjoy being a mother. I was crying all the time.
There is nothing like being a mom. This unique and special love that I have for my child is the most beautiful feeling I ever experienced. Motherhood is the best thing that has ever happened to me, and I think every mother would agree with me.
It's kind of a horrible analogy, but motherhood is a bunch of really hard moments and then that one moment that makes you forget all the horrible moments.
I would go through every single one of those moments of you feeling horrible and sick and, you know, and depressed. I would do that a million times to get him here.
Самое ценное, чтобы быть мамой, это любовь твоих детей. Когда ты отдаешь им свою любовь, ты видишь, что взамен ты получаешь тоже. Лучше быть, по-моему, просто в жизни ничего не может.
You see them growing up and then you just look at them and they're like, oh my God, I had you, I went through all of this, but look at you, you're growing up, you're becoming a little girl, not a baby no more, not a toddler, but a girl, going to school. I mean, it's exciting. It's hard, but exciting. It's painful, but it's worth it.
Just being able to love someone that much, that unconditionally, and for them to give you that unconditional love back, I think that's the most precious thing. You know, I mean, love is what makes everything beautiful.
I just never thought it was possible to love someone that much. It's different from the love that you have for your parents or for your, you know, for your significant other. It's so different. It's so amazing.
You have this person that loves you unconditionally, no matter what you do, no matter if you mess up in the outside world. You're like this hero to them.
Дети – это лучшее, что может быть в жизни женщины.
The main thing here is love. And babies are love.
I just feel really blessed to be his mom.
I'm thankful to my mom for bringing me into this world. After going through all the painful steps to motherhood, I understand my mom and love her even more. No matter what I did, she was always there for me. And I'll do everything to be as good mother as she is. Дякую, мамо.